Abalone is a family of coral reef-dwelling sea snails that are the target of a lucrative commercial export fishery in Western Australia and have one of the shortest recreational fishing seasons in the world. Despite this fishing pressure and examples of declining stocks worldwide, Western Australia boasts one of the few remaining sustainable wild abalone fisheries. Abalone are herbivorous marine mollusks with a shell, gastropod. Their bodies are large and fleshy, with a broad, muscular foot used to attach to coral reefs or rocks by suction. Rows of small holes or pores running along the edge of their shells distinguish abalones from other sea snails. Abalones push water that has passed over their gills through these holes. As the abalones grow, these holes gradually close, usually only. Abalone are widely distributed throughout tropical and temperate coastal areas. Roe abalone can be found as far north as Shark Bay in Western Australia and as far south as Victoria. They are predominantly found in shallow limestone reefs along the west coast, particularly around Perth and near Geraldton. Abalone are marine snails belonging to a group of invertebrates, animals without a backbone or other form of internal skeleton, known as mollusks. Mollusks also include common bivalves such as scallops, oysters, clams, mussels and clams, as well as octopuses, squid and cuttlefish. Most abalone species have a moderately to heavily calcified, flattened snail-like shell. This flattened body shape reduces the drag created by strong waves and currents, typical of their shallow, 1 to 10 meters deep, and exposed coastal reef habitat. The shell protects the soft tissues of the body, including a very large and wavy muscular foot that allows the abalone to cling firmly to the rocky substrate, even when moving and feeding. Abalone belongs to the family Haliotidae, which is exclusively marine and, according to Geiger and Owen, belongs to the single genus-level taxon Haliotis. Although abalone may have been exploited by coastal communities since prehistoric times, large-scale commercial exploitation has not been recorded since the early 1970s. Many authors have suggested that there are approximately 75 species of abalone worldwide, but in the most recent and authoritative report on abalone taxonomy, Geiger and Owen recognized 56 valid species, with an additional 18 subspecies. However, these authors have argued that the detailed taxonomy remains somewhat uncertain. Of all the species worldwide, less than a third are of commercial importance. Other species are either too small or too rare to exploit commercially. Abalone have a row of pores in the shell that are used for the passage of respiratory water, release of gametes, and excretion. Some authors have attempted to use the respiratory pores as a diagnostic feature for each species, but according to Geiger and Owen, the number, shape, and location of these pores are extremely variable, even within the same species. Therefore, Geiger and Owen do not recommend the use of these pores as a diagnostic feature. It has long been known that natural hybrids occur between different abalone species, but hybridization has become more familiar in recent years because some species have been used in abalone aquaculture. For example, the tiger abalone is a hybrid between H. laevigata and H. rubra and is popular on some Australian farms, while the hybrid between H. discus hanai and H. discus discus is widely farmed in China. Unlike many other mollusks, abalone have a flat, snail-like shell with little outward curling, especially in older animals which may have extensive growth on the outside of the shell. The outside of the shell is often covered with fascia including algae, barnacles, sponges, breams and serpulids, and sometimes even small bivalves. The single flat shell has a large opening for the body and a row of respiratory pores along one side of the shell, left, which continue to form throughout the life of the abalone. As the animal grows, new pores are created and old ones are filled. These pores are used for respiration, excretion and reproduction. The flat body shape of abalone is important in reducing the drag created by waves and currents, characteristic of their shallow, open coastal reef habitat. Viewed ventrally, the internal anatomy is dominated by a large, flat, muscular foot, often surrounded by a fringed cuticle, which is a flat ring of sensory tentacles that, in a relaxed state, protrudes around the edge of the shell. In many abalone species, this cuticle is pigmented and, in some cases, is an important diagnostic feature of the species. The large muscular foot is important because it acts as a sucker, allowing the abalone to adhere firmly to the rocky substrate, even when moving and feeding. Abalone is the common name for any of several small to very large marine gastropod mollusks of the genus Haliotis. Other common names include sea ear, power, and bao-yu. Abalone is considered a luxury item and is often reserved for special occasions because of its relative cost. Abalone farming is quite common, which makes this product less rare scientifically, and abalone is a mollusk in the family Haliotidae. It is also a gastropod, or a single-shelled shell, because it has one shell instead of two, like a mussel or oyster, which are bivalves. In simpler terms, it is a type of sea snail. Abalone have long been sought after for their iridescent, mother-of-pearl shells and delicious meat. Once upon a time, several species of abalone flourished along the California coast. However, by the late 1900s, their numbers had plummeted. Overfishing, disease, and a series of environmental disasters eventually led California to ban commercial fishing for abalone. Today, restoration programs are helping wild abalone return, while sustainable aquaculture offers a responsible alternative to sourcing this shellfish. At Catalina Offshore Products, we source live green and red abalone meat and steaks from abalone farms in Baja. Any good seafood chef knows how to prepare abalone, and so can you. If starting with live abalone, clean the abalone by separating the meat from the shell. You will need an oyster shucking tool or similar blunt instrument, and a towel to hold the abalone in place while protecting your hands, similar to when shucking oysters. We recommend placing the abalone in the freezer for 15 to 20 minutes before starting, as the cold temperature makes the abalone less mobile. Insert the abalone shell firmly between the abalone and its shell. Gently but firmly, move along the shell until the connective tissue separates. Slide the abalone meat out of the shell. All of the meat is edible, but most people prefer to remove the intestines as well as the hard pointy head and black, fringed edges. Cover the abalone with kosher salt, then use a towel to rub and clean the meat. At this point, you can cut the abalone into pieces and enjoy it raw or cooked. However, because the meat of abalone can be tough, many chefs recommend tenderizing it first. To tenderize abalone, use the flat, non-spiky, side of a meat tenderizer or pestle. Place the abalone in a plastic bag to protect it from being cut. As you pound the abalone, check its texture occasionally. It should soften considerably when you touch it. The flavor of abalone is quite mild, like that of scallops, so be careful not to overwhelm it with strong flavors. Serve cold with a squeeze of lemon or lime and a drizzle of ponzu, or a little olive oil. You don't need much to make this seafood shine in its pure, raw form. One of the most popular ways to prepare a cleaned and tender abalone is to pan fry it in a little butter for a few minutes on each side.